Hello everyone, get ready for another episode of Bells and Whistles. Hello everyone, Bill Wilson, Editor-in-Chief of RTNS Magazine, and we're going to do something a little bit different with this episode of Bells and Whistles. A couple months ago, I had the chance to visit the California Northern Railroad Company, and they had just received 2 Tier 4 locomotives. So I was able to talk to Jake Harrison, who is the general manager with the California Northern Railroad Company, and basically just spend the day with him while the locomotive was in action. So enjoy the video, and we'll be back next week with a normal episode of Bells and Whistles. After talking about tomato paste for a good portion of the morning, Jake Harrison, the general manager of California Northern Railroad Company, recommended a Hawaii teriyaki restaurant for lunch. It was a weird twist, but make no mistake about Harrison's overall approach on the job. It is all about productivity. The California Northern Railroad Company is located about 30 minutes outside of Sacramento, California. Tomatoes are king here, and the California Northern Railroad Company, which is owned by Genesee and Wyoming, serves many customers which specialize in the production of tomato paste. They are part of a 20-mile track run between Woodland, California and Davis, California, a trip that the California Northern Railroad Company takes daily. Ask Harrison about what locomotive now services the California Northern Railroad Company, and you will not be able to get a word in. He and the rest of his crew have been excited about a new U.S. EPA Tier 4 near zero emissions locomotive, which is also verified by CARB.
Obviously it's more fuel efficient, which is what we're after, right? Everybody wants to burn cleaner and contribute to the carbon footprint in a positive way. And we like them. I mean, we're glad to have them. They've been good so far. I mean, they're still new. We've only had them a couple months, but what we've seen so far, I say bring on more of them.
These particular locomotives, manufactured by the Knoxville Locomotive Works, were delivered to the Shortline Railroad Company back in July 2019 and were immediately put to work. The 2 24-horsepower diesel locomotives use selective catalytic reduction technology to meet the most stringent emissions requirements set by the Environmental Protection Agency and verification by the Air Resource Board of California. Their high-efficiency 12-cylinder MTU engines are expected to provide fuel savings of 25% and reduce diesel emissions by 93% compared to the 2 circa 1976 locomotives being replaced.
It's been great. It's newer than what we're used to using. It pulls a little bit more. It's got a lot more horsepower. Even the smallest things, the AC in it blows really, really cold compared to some of the older locomotives we have. The crew likes them. That's the most important thing. I mean, it's easy for me to say that I like them and things are good. I don't have to work on them. I don't have to use them. But the crew, they prefer them. And maybe that's because it's a new toy for them. But the thing that I constantly hear about them that the crew likes is they pull really, really well. So when you're a working engineer and you've got to move the train and it's struggling to move, because maybe you're underpowered or you have an older locomotive, when you've got a locomotive on there that pulls and that works well, that's what we want. So the crews are going to be using these things. If they sign off on them, really that's all you could ask for.
The power of the new Tier 4 compliant locomotive allows the California Northern Railroad Company to do work with 1 locomotive rather than 2, which also eliminates a little bit of the chaos during a run.
The nice thing about this locomotive for us is it's the highest horsepower locomotive we have, and it's also very fuel efficient. So those 2 things married together, you couldn't ask for a better locomotive. So what we're able to do with it is instead of taking 2 locomotives, we can take the 1 locomotive because it has enough horsepower, and so we don't have to swap ends, we don't have to mess around with moving our grip back and forth between each locomotive when we're going back and forth between the 2. We take the 1 locomotive, we do the work of 2 locomotives in one day, and it runs well, pulls well.